Seriously, guys, you could not write a script for what is going on at Newcastle United. It seems that when we hit the heights, like getting to a cup final and things like that, the heights then become a low with so much bad news that it completely overtakes the positivity ahead of a cup final and a run into the Premier League where we are challenging for the Champions League. Hi, everybody. My name's Paul. Welcome back to the Toon Review YouTube channel. Thank you again so much for watching the video. I mean, look, everybody knows by now, Lewis Hall out for the season, and of course Newcastle United will not be appealing Anthony Gordon's red card. And to be honest, I think that's a good decision. I don't see the point of it. We spoke many times after the incident. Eddie Howe said after the game that they would look at it and possibly appeal it if they thought they maybe had grounds for an appeal, but it's quite clear. You look back at Fabian Schär's incident at the start of the season, he didn't get that rescinded. That was a really soft sending off. This one, you're not going to get that overturned. I think all the pundits, everybody was saying the same thing. It's not getting overturned. Anthony Gordon will miss the next 3 games. So he'll be out for the cup final. He'll miss the West Ham game as well, which is coming up on Monday. That is a huge game in the Premier League, and I think everybody's kind of took their eye off that. I've seen a few people make remarks about, play the kids for the West Ham game so that we don't get any injuries and things like that. But listen, I spoke about this yesterday on the fan forum, and I believe that we need to build momentum going into the final. Now, some people may not agree with this. Some people may say don't risk your players. But look, we need to concentrate on the Premier League here as well. We can't lose grasp of where we are. We're still with a shout of hitting that top 4 this season. Whether they think we'll do it or not, it doesn't matter right now. What does matter is we are in a position where we can still challenge. And we can't take our foot off the gas in the Premier League just to accommodate the Carabao Cup final. As much as I want to win a trophy and what every single Newcastle United fan wants to do is win a trophy, we cannot put our eggs all in one basket again. And that seems to be what we tend to do. Now, whether the players in recent weeks have taken their eye off the Premier League, that's for different opinions, I guess. But to me, it looks like they have. There's no fight and desire at the moment in the Premier League, and we're losing, we're dropping points. But the fact of the matter is, we are still up there challenging. And I think, it's pointless putting the kids out against West Ham. That shows disrespect to the West Ham team and the Premier League as well. We can't disrespect where we are in the league. But look, what I wanted to talk about on this video is basically, there's so much crap hitting Newcastle United, and it always seems to be the case with our club. There's never a high point, and it stays a high point, is there? We hit a high point, like getting to the cup final, and then at the time, we're still in the FA Cup, we're doing really well in the Premier League, everything's looking really rosy, and then all of a sudden, a couple of weeks before the cup final, everything just drops out the tree, doesn't it? Lewis Hall injured for the season. I mean, my God, nobody saw that coming because he didn't walk off injured from any particular game. It didn't look as if anything had happened, but it looks like he's actually got a fracture to his foot, which needs surgery and obviously rehabilitation time. So he's not going to be performing for us for the rest of the season. That is a massive blow because he's been one of the star players this season within that team. And to lose him is a huge blow. And now you're looking at what does he do at left back for the coming games. Does Matt Targett step in? Does Livramento move to left back, Kieran Trippier right back? Or, God forbid, Botman returns and he puts Dan Burn at left back. Now that last option about Burn going left back very much depends on, obviously, Botman coming back, doesn't it? But he's capable of doing that, guys. He's capable of shaking it up a little bit and doing that. Look, Livramento, for me, has played very well at left back when we've asked him to. So I think that is the easiest solution to all of this Lewis Hall thing. Get Livramento there. He's played there in the Champions League. He's played there in the Premier League. He can play that position. And Kieran Trippier, as we know, can play the right-hand position. Kieran Trippier, over the next few weeks, his leadership, in my general opinion, is going to be massive. You can say what you want about Bruno being captain, but the leadership, the experience of somebody like Kieran Trippier is going to be massively needed over the next few weeks and months. No doubt about it. And for me, I'm very happy that Kieran stayed at the club because by hell do we need him. Whether we think his legs have gone is a different, that's a different conversation. What I'm talking about is his leadership skills, his experience on the pitch, and the fact that he isn't frightened to bollock anybody. We've seen that in recent games. Bruno doesn't tend to do that as a captain. He has other qualities, but Kieran Trippier for me is a standout captain of Newcastle United. Whether Bruno has the armband or not. So Kieran Trippier is going to be needed massively over the final part of the season. But it's a huge ask on Tino to go to left back as well. Not really a left back, but he can play there. And he can play there really well. So, look, there's a lot of negative news hitting Newcastle United right now. And like I say, you couldn't write a friggin' script about it. It just seems that everything tends to just go against us. And, you look back to these folklores of gypsy curses on the team and things like that from the 60s, saying that you won't win a trophy for 100 years. And you look at these crazy things and you think, what's happened in Newcastle in like semi-finals and cup finals in recent times? And you think, wow, are we cursed? Or is all this bad news really a curse on the football club? Because you just could not write a script about all this. Now, there is rumour as well, by the way, and I must state that this is only rumour that Alexander Isak is also struggling to be fit. So we may not have him. There's still a lot of doubts about Sven Botman. Nobody seems to know about Botman's fitness. And the club aren't really saying a lot about Botman's fitness either. So there's 4 massive players we'd be missing for the cup final if that is the case. Isak, Botman, Lewis Hall, and of course Anthony Gordon. But listen, where there's hardship for some players, there's opportunities for others. And if you look to the likes of Harvey Barnes, he's only scored 1 goal less than Gordon this season, despite Gordon playing a lot more. So it'll be a real opportunity for Harvey Barnes to step up. But we've been saying that for weeks now. Since he's come back from injury and come on as substitute, he hasn't really made Eddie Howe have to second guess who he's going to pick in the first team. He hasn't done it. He was lively in the first half on Sunday, disappeared second half. Harvey Barnes has got to become a consistent player on the field. Now, that may well be because he needs a run of games. So if Harvey Barnes is going to get a run of games, Eddie Howe has to give him that. Give him the opportunity. Give him a run of games to get into match fitness or whatever it needs to be and give him a run of games. But we know that Anthony Gordon serves his 3-match suspension. He's going to put him straight back in no matter how Harvey Barnes performs. And that is the disappointment for me in the kind of hypocrisy that we see from Eddie Howe in his press conferences when he sits there and tells the whole world and the media that if you play well in the first team, you get to keep your place. And we've seen quite a few decisions in recent weeks and months that isn't the case. But it's a huge opportunity now with Gordon being suspended, I would think, for Harvey Barnes. We've paid £40 million for Harvey Barnes. That is an awful lot of money. And if it turns out that he's going to play Joe Linton or Willock down the left-hand side, what does that say about the signing of Harvey Barnes? It says to me that it was a complete and utter panic buy and a ridiculous amount of money for a player that's nowhere near Eddie Howe's first-team plans. This is an opportunity to see exactly where Harvey Barnes stands in Eddie Howe's thinking. And then you've got the defence. If Botman comes back, I'd love to see a 5 at the back in the cup final. Not so much against West Ham on Monday, but I want to see Botman in that back 5. And we can play that system. We played it very well against Arsenal in the semi-finals, so why not? Why not go for that? But the club have been so secretive about Botman at the minute. Every time somebody from the club is asked about Botman, they come out and sort of deflect it very quickly. Say, oh yeah, he's on target, he's doing this, he's doing that. But there's never a time frame put on it, saying, oh, we're hoping to have him back for the next game. And I think lessons have been learnt from last season saying that kind of thing, because it was said a lot in press conferences that he should be fit for such and such a game. We made the same mistake with Callum Wilson at the start of the season when Eddie said he would be back before the first international break and he wasn't back for months. So they've got to be very careful, but give us a slight indication. You don't have to give much away, but give us an indication of where our players are. Because, Matt Targett, he may come in at left back if Livramento doesn't perform. But the question is, what does he do for the West Ham game? What kind of thoughts are going through Eddie's head? Because he sits there in press conferences, tells us he takes one game at a time, and the Premier League is the bread and butter to Newcastle United and where they want to be as a football club in Europe, in the Champions League. So is he going to risk it all by putting a weak side out at West Ham, thinking about it, not even winning the game, and putting eggs in one basket again for the Carabao? I think that would be wrong. However, Newcastle United, when our backs have been against the wall in the past, we've knocked the wall down. And I think that's what a lot of supporters need to try and swing to now. That this injury to Lewis Hall, the suspension to Gordon, the doubt over Isak and Botman. Okay, we're facing a massive hurdle here as a football club. But we can do it. We've got players. We've seen these players perform. We know they can perform. Yes, we don't have a lot of quality to come off the bench. But we've seen during that 9-game winning run we went on. If we can get a comfortable lead, we can then, give our elite players a rest for 20, 25 minutes. And the players that can come on the pitch can shut the door. Granted, we haven't seen that recently by any stretch of the imagination. But we do have players capable of winning games. We've still got Tonali. We've still got Bruno, Joe Linton. Callum Wilson can score goals. He needs to get his arse into gear. Harvey Barnes can score goals. Jacob Murphy can. We do have players who are still available for Newcastle United for the Premier League and the Cup final who can do a job. Now, Liverpool in the Cup final is a massive ask. They're probably playing the best football in the world right now. They are so good. But hey, it's a cup final. It is a cup final, and you just never know. Wigan went and won the FA Cup, for God's sake. There's been teams who've beaten the elites in cup finals and shocked the world. It could be us. It could be. Now, I'm realistic as well. You've got to be. You're very silly if you're not realistic. Is it going to be a mountain to climb? 100% it is. 150%. It's a massive mountain to climb for Newcastle United. But you can never lose complete faith. Am I thinking we're going to go and win the cup final? Realistically, no. Do I want to be surprised? Yes. You just don't know. Because on the day, our elite players could turn up and just give Liverpool a game. You just don't know what's going to happen. But realistically, you've got to look at the players that might be missing for us in the cup final and think, yeah, it's a huge ask. But it's never a straightforward road with Newcastle United. There is always ups and downs. And at the minute, we're going through a bit of a downward spiral when we're trying to look forward to a cup final. We have to concentrate on West Ham first. Because my opinion is we have to keep performing in the Premier League. Because if we lose to West Ham, then we lose the cup final. Morale is going to be at a low. April is stacked with games. Absolutely stacked after the international break. And if we go into April with that amount of games, with our heads up our arses and sulking, we are in deep shit. And Europe will be just a pipe dream again. So there's a lot riding on this. And I think we have to go to West Ham, perform really well, not worry about getting injuries, because if you start doing that kind of thing, you're going to lose. And the thing is, if you are worried about getting injured, the chances are you will get injured, because you'll be trying to pull out the tackles and things like that and leave yourself vulnerable. So, come on. Let's go to West Ham. Let's build a bit of momentum for the cup final by going down there, winning by a few goals, getting the confidence back up. Because that's what we need right now. We need a morale-boosting win to go to Wembley and think, you know what? Let's just give it a go. Let's just give it a real bloody go here and see what we can get out of it. We will not give up the fight kind of attitude. That's what I want to see. But, hey, This is up to the players now. It's up to Eddie and the players to get things right, to do things in training, to work out what sort of lineup he's going to put out at West Ham, what lineup is going to turn out at Wembley. That is all down to the manager. He faces a huge few weeks now, a massive few weeks, to try and get things turned around, get the form going again, and us performing like we know we can, despite the injuries that we've been hit by. But it is crippling to us. It is. It's just crippling. And you kind of look back and think, God, we sold some players, we brought nobody in, and look at we all said we were going to be a couple of injuries away from a mess again. That's exactly what's happened. But look, you just don't know. You just don't know. But thank you very much for watching the video, guys. Let me know in the comments how you're feeling at the minute after the Lewis Hall news and, of course, the Anthony Gordon news. Do give it a like if you've enjoyed the video today. And, of course, if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. Free to do so. It's a fantastic community here on the Toon Review, but make sure you hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload or a live show in the future. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Have a great day. Take care.